be out in the sunshine, so I'll get to practice my legal counsel skills.
Well, I always say I'm not a lawyer, but I used to play one on the floor of the legislature.
All right, you guys are all set.
All right, thank you, Chuck. All right. Great. So you do have a quorum, Casey, so whenever you want to get started.
Sounds good. We might as well get started. I'm sure Susan and Heike will join, and they will have a chance to provide feedback because it'll take us a little bit to walk through the report. So welcome everyone, super exciting. Hopefully we'll be able to finalize the report, and that's the main agenda item for today. And then just reviewing any other questions or items and making sure we have everything all wrapped up in terms of next steps in the report out to the board and all of that good stuff. And then we'll adjourn. So I got some feedback in advance via email. And so what I was hoping we could do is all share my screen. And this is the version that Laura reviewed and sent some notes on, so that we could start by just walking through and like agreeing if we want to accept all of the notes. And then we can walk through other feedback or items that people have, and then go from there. Does that sound like it'll work for everyone? Okay, that way we can make them live and together. Okay. So, I think I did have one question. Does anyone have a preference if it lists like your position and organization, or if it just lists your name?
Casey, I'm fine with it as is.
Okay. Just a minor detail, didn't know. Okay, so this first change, this is the comment says it well. So Laura said she adjusted the format to separate out this year and next year to show that the COLA is applied to the 21 to 22 rate. So if everyone can just look at this update, and then is everyone on board with that change? It makes perfect sense to me, especially in terms of a COLA. Okay, cool. I will resolve that comment. It always goes slower when you're sharing. Okay. I don't know why it's not letting me right click on it. There we go. Okay, and then okay, so this next piece we need to review, because I think I'm pretty certain after Laura provided this feedback that I do have it incorrectly in this report. So we just need to confirm with everyone what we agreed on. So I'll read the comment. So I thought we voted that they would get a COLA if the CAO's office gets a COLA, not the broader non-represented group. Although we don't really know if they get them at the same time. But after reading that comment, that is also what I recall we talked about, specifically the county administrator's office getting the COLA. And the way I have it worded is at the same time as just non-represented employees.
Perhaps Brad or Kevin could let us know if there's a difference in those two. They may be one and the same.
So this is Brad. Historically, all non-representatives get a COLA. You know, there's no distinction between any department or another department for non-representatives and COLAs. So, but I think you're right, Casey, that is what you guys said at the meeting. I don't think it's going to make a difference in reality, but I think that's what you guys decided at that meeting.
Yeah, that was what the motion was, is if the CAO's office receives one.
So if Kevin gets one, then the board gets one.
There we go. We should word it like that. No. So if we reword this to just say, I would take out the highlighted portion. So it would say, we'll receive a COLA of the same percentage and at the same time as the county administrator's office. Everyone fine with that? Okay, cool. And there's one other place where that will come up. Okay. So this edit was clarifying language. So instead of and hours expectations, it was and full-time or part-time status were also identified. And this is speaking about the comparators. Is everyone fine with that clarifying language? Okay, cool. Accept change. And there we go. Is there another change over here? No, I don't know what that's telling us. Okay. We'll accept.
Casey,
Yeah.
I think there was just an extra space between paragraphs. That might be, oh wait, no,
Okay.
that's the next one. I don't know why it's showing up.
I don't know. I'll pull it up at the end just to make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay, so this was the same comment. So we'll update this. This was related to the COLA. Both the chair and county commissioners will receive a COLA if the county administrator's office receives a COLA. Does that wording make sense? Okay. And we'll accept this change.
You might want to look at the next sentence because it addresses that as well.
Yep. Thank you. Will match the percentage and will be implemented at the same time as adjustments made for okay, does that make sense? Oh no. Okay. And I think that was the end here. We'll need to, like when this is PDF, to like add these two attachments in since they're directly referenced above. And let's just make sure. Okay, so it looks like this is the only other change. I don't know. It doesn't look like there's a change there. So, okay, so those were Laura's comments. I wanted to ask, what other comments did you have after you reviewed it? And if anyone wants to just kind of walk through it in this meeting, we can do that piece by piece as well. Just let me know what you think would be most helpful.
I wanted to talk about where there's reference to the part-time and full-time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the places. And then there was another place as well where we're referencing full-time, part-time salaries. And I just wanted, because I feel hesitant to reference full-time, part-time because we didn't have any information regarding the full-time, part-time status, or making assumptions that now that we're setting the full-time salary, that the commissioners are required to work full-time.
I agree with that. I mean, it is really tricky because it's not within the scope of this commission. And it's also really tricky because it is a factor that came up. So it's hard to know yeah, how to address it. And it looks like Suzanne and Brianna, you both have your hands raised. I didn't notice who was first, maybe Suzanne, because yours is up top.
I have some additional questions, but I will respond to that. I think perhaps what you could do is say that the assumption the commission made was that this was a full-time salary, maybe. I don't know if that helps. And then the county can decide what to do if you have a commissioner who wants to remain part-time. And we'll leave it at that, that the assumption is this pay was set as a full-time salary.
I get a little, so that's where I had a little bit of a difficult time writing it, because it feels like I was trying to write it so it didn't assume that people would be full-time, but also didn't ignore the fact that county commissioners do work other jobs because the compensation isn't enough for what they need. Anyway, Brianna, go ahead.
So I was thinking if we remove the second sentence in that paragraph due to salaries that are previously set, that might help. And then keeping that sentence that it was out of the scope of this commission to decide the status as a commission. And that just kind of acknowledges that there isn't an expectation of hours and it was outside of our scope to decide that component, that might clean it up a little.
Yeah, it takes out some of the commentary around it. I'm just going to make a note for a second on it, that's the piece we would remove, because I think it's referenced elsewhere. So I'm just going to look for part-time. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So we said in assessing the compensation across, oh, this was related to the comparators, which we did do. So this doesn't feel as sticky because it's relevant to counties that do say like you're full-time or you're 37.5 hours or whatever. But we aren't reviewing it for Washington County. So what do you all think? Do we leave it in here? Okay. And let's see. Okay, so it's only in those two places, it looks like. Let me just see, did we mention it at all in the summaries surrounding each position? No. Okay, does that clean it up for you? Other thoughts on how we address this topic in the report? Yeah, go ahead.
If I recall, I think there was maybe another reference, not explicitly saying part-time, but I thought that there was somewhere else. Yeah, modifying to a full-time responsibility.
We could just take that sentence out. That way, like truly the comparator we used was the market rate.
Right.
So if we take that sentence out, it just also kind of takes out any assumptions on our behalf. Okay. Other thoughts or suggestions? Is everyone fine with removing both of those? Okay. Looks like everyone's nodding. Okay. And then Heike, you had another item or other items? Oops.
No, I believe that was Suzanne.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Casey, I had sent you an email regarding 2 questions that I had. One was just understanding more from the HR department, how they actually load these salaries into the payroll system. And I ask because the current pay is not a flat rounded amount. It's got some dollars and cents. And so I didn't know if there were any restrictions on the payroll system where it had to be a certain amount so that the payroll system would work. That was one question. And then the other one was, is there a mechanism? And, you know, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it has happened in the past where county employees can be furloughed, I think. I'm not sure about Washington County, but I know that throughout the country, there are times when county employees are furloughed. And so they have to take a reduction in pay. And is there a mechanism here if through a cost-cutting measure, if employees took a cut in pay, would commissioners have the flexibility to do that as well, voluntarily or through whatever process? Since the Salary Commission is setting the pay, what mechanism exists if that was needed in order to balance the budget?
Those are great questions. And
Let me answer the first question. I think the reason the amounts in the salaries currently are off, they're not exact round numbers, is because they're working as a percentage off those circuit judge or district judge salaries. So the chair is 80% of that. So you do the math on that, you're not going to come up with an even round number. And then the commissioners are 40% of the chair. And again, you're probably not going to come up with an even number. At Multnomah County, I usually suggested we round it down, to an even number, but I can't remember what usually happened on my salary, but mine was 80% of a judge's salary. So I think that's how they got the not a rounded number.
I would just request that be confirmed.
And should we then, based off of that, if our if our decision is that the salary is going to be $115,000 annually, and let's say they receive pay twice a month or whatever, they're going to end up a few cents short if it's divided evenly across 12 months, depending on how their system rounds. And
yeah, this is Brad. I'm not sure exactly how it rounds. I know that, there's 26 pay periods in a year, every 2 weeks. And then, and I don't know how the magic happens behind the black curtain, but I know they do it somehow.
I would just want to give the Human Resources Department a little bit of flexibility so they're not playing around with it every payroll, so that if it's on or about, or similar to that amount, off by maybe a couple of dollars or whatever, but I don't want them to have to go through a lot of heartburn if the payroll system is not flexible.
I would say the county administrator's office and HR will be able to deal with that. I usually try to leave, those considerations are left to the county, and I wouldn't have you adjust your numbers based on the county not being able to adjust.
Yeah, as long as nobody else has a problem with it. I know that sometimes citizens can say, you said it was this amount and it's actually this amount. And why go through that heartburn if you can put a little bit of flexibility into it? That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
other comments on that piece from anyone?
I will say that, these numbers are obviously out there now. And I don't know if anybody actually sent them to HR, but they're certainly available. And we haven't ever heard any feedback to the contrary. So,
Yeah, I think it will work out all right because as you're, as HR professionals, you probably recognize that, people get a 5% bump in salary, and then they have, that number may not be perfect when they're coming down to half a cent and all that stuff, but they figure it out. And then at the end of the year, there's different calculations that are made based upon, whether that employees hit the Social Security cap and all that stuff. So there's a lot of, work that actually goes into those numbers. And I can only speak for myself as an employee that, they somehow figure it out ultimately. And I don't think what you guys are doing is going to challenge them in any particular way. And then you had a second question, and I can't recall what that was. Suzanne, if you could repeat it, because I might be able to help you on that.
Sure. That question was, if for some reason there's a budgetary constraint through either a future recession or something like that, and if county employees have to take a cut in pay in order to balance the budget, what mechanism exists for the commissioners to then also take a requisite cut in pay, or are they bound by what the Salary Commission is saying?
Well, and I think the answer to that is we haven't run into that, fortunately, at Washington County since I've been here. But I have seen that happen in other jurisdictions, and typically I think it's done by furlough days. The state does that fairly, periodically. But my experience, and Steve can jump in on this, is it would be voluntary for an elected official. They're not bound by any sort of restrictions because of mandatory furloughs or reduction in hours. They get paid what they get paid. And if they want to voluntarily take less, they can voluntarily take less.
Yeah, some of the smaller jurisdictions may have come up with that, and I know like Stockton and California actually was on the verge of bankruptcy, and so they were doing a lot of things. When I was at Portland State, we had some cuts, and I volunteered to take a 5% salary cut. And I was promptly told by administration to shut my mouth because they didn't want to take a 5% cut. So, but that I haven't seen that as a wide practice, particularly in a larger county like this. I mean, they've got they have a pretty good size reserve. I mean, things would have to go down pretty bad, and they could work on that on their budget cycles, I'm sure. So, but yeah, they could always take a voluntary cut.
Sounds good. Thank you. What other questions, comments, feedback, and edits on this report? Okay, is everyone ready to vote on whether or not we approve this as our final report? Well, I guess we need a motion for that. Here I am, getting ahead of myself. Go ahead, Brianna.
I move that we adopt the final report with the noted changes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So all in favor of adopting this as the final report, raise your hand. Visual. Okay. And we have everyone. So thank you for that. So as a next step, I will add the 2 attachments and send that over to you, Kevin.
Yes, and that'll be good. And I will put with the cover page that will go on top of it, and I'll send it back to you so you have the completed document to present to the board, which leads into our earlier conversation of, I'll let you bring up how you guys want to present to the board at the work session next week.
Yeah. So we have the presentation of this and discussion around it at the work session, and then the following week at the board meeting. We just need to agree on how we want to approach that. I would suggest that that be me and Brianna presenting as the chair and co-chair. So that there's an idea, and then Steve being there also to help weigh in and support and everything like that. Brianna, of course, if you're interested and available, but just want to put that out there.
Madam Chair, can you remind me of the dates of those meetings that you just referenced?
Yes.
So I'd help with that, Casey.
Okay.
So Brianna, it's next Tuesday, the 27th. We're having an afternoon work session with the board. So we're projecting start time of this about 2:30. And then for the board meeting on the 4th, it's in the morning. They start their meeting about 10 to noon. So we would, right now, looking at the agenda, about the 10:45-ish mark to about 11:15, give or take.
Thank you. Casey, I can support both of those.
Awesome. Does that sound fine to everyone? Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so what other questions do people have, comments, anything else that we are missing? This will be our last salary commission meeting, so anything else that we need to cover?
So just to let you know, you're all welcome to listen in on those meetings. And I don't know, Kevin, if you want to send the links or whatnot, but that's up to you. You don't have to. I would say, man, this was a really good experience. You guys did a terrific job in this, and we're super professional. And I really appreciate all the hard work you put in here.
I'd like to add, of course, I echo that, but I'm only going to be there if the board has questions for me or if you want me to clarify something. But it's in your hands, and as it has been all along, and I'm full confidence in the two of you in presenting, and I look forward to it. I wish we could do this. I wish it was like able to do in person. We could have a celebration afterwards or something. I will follow up after all this with probably a questionnaire or maybe even 2, probably 1. I'll combine them. But thank you.
Awesome. Oh yeah, go ahead, Brianna.
I just wanted to thank Steve, Brad, and Kevin for all the support you provided during this process and just guiding us through and redirecting when needed. And it's just been a personal pleasure to work with all of you. And Casey, appreciate the time to pull in the final product for something for us to review. That was huge. So thank you.
Yes, thank you all. And to everyone who's been part of the commission. So it's been really great to get to work with you all and just learn from everyone's approaches and input and all of that. So that's been a great kind of byproduct of this as well. So if there's nothing else, then we will adjourn. And it looks like there's not. Great. Well, have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you sometime in the future.
All right. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Good job.